What is going on the ground?
Well, today is day 373 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation. And on the ground, the Russians are attacking into a number of different places. The main attack is Bakhmut, more on that in a moment, but they're attacking north of Bakhmut, trying to probe Ukrainian lines, and south in the Donetsk region. And they're still continuing to attack civilian infrastructure targets. Overnight, the Ukrainians have claimed that the Russians had 38 strikes in the Donetsk Oblast, in the Ukrainian-held part of that, against civilian targets. But also at this time, the Russians have put out the fact that the Russian Defence Minister, Shoigu, has gone and visited the troops in the Donetsk Oblast, or that's what they're claiming. And they've put some video out of him walking through the rubble and giving medals and bits and pieces to the troops. We haven't managed to geolocate this. Last time he allegedly visited the front line, this was visited somewhere else. And
carefully staged managed.
Carefully staged managed. I don't think he will go up there. But Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner group, criticised him last time for not going there. There's a bit of a spat going on between the two of them.
Let's talk about Bakhmut, if we may. Pretty stark assessment, as I was saying there, from the Ministry of Defence. Is Ukraine about to lose it?
It is. Well, I think Ukraine is holding the Russians in position. And Bakhmut itself, it's not strategically significant. It was a city of about 70,000. The deputy mayor of Bakhmut this morning assessed that there's between 4,000 and 4,500 people still in the city. It gives some lines of communications that would help the Russians, but nothing massive. There's just this psychological piece. And the psychological piece, I think over the last 7+ months, the Ukrainians have been running a very, very successful fixing operation. Fixing the Russians in there, so they've been throwing lots more troops in, lots of the Wagner group, whilst they've been effectively killing them, attriting them. And the Ukrainian Ministry of Defence assessment is for every 1 Ukrainian soldier lost, the Russians are losing 7. And we've got the Russians now attacking in from the south, attacking in from the north, and they are circling it. There's one road in that is now in indirect fire mode from the Russians. That makes it very difficult for the Ukrainians to continue to resupply the troops that's in there. So maybe it's the time for them, with this fixing operation, to withdraw a little bit from Bakhmut city, which has been destroyed, trade that space for additional time. They'll have prepared other defences and defensive positions further to the west.
So think about the opportunity cost, effectively.
And yes, it's making sure that they're not going to lose too many troops for hanging on to something that's really not worth hanging on to.
Yeah, because it's more of symbolic importance, isn't it?
It is.
The Wagner group.
And the other big thing is it's distracting the Russians and everyone else from what may be going on elsewhere.
Yeah, indeed. Let's zoom out, if we can. Globally, how is all of this, what's going on there in Ukraine, playing out?
Well, globally, the world seems to be split. There's those that support the Ukrainians, primarily the West or Western-leaning countries. And then we've got the likes of China, India, Pakistan, Iran, who are still sitting on the fence. Iran's not. They're supplying weapons. But we had the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov in India last night. He gave a talk to say the war which we tried to stop was launched against us using the Ukrainian people.
And how did that go down?
To which the Indian crowd burst out laughing. So that would have been severely embarrassing for the 72-year-old international statesman that Lavrov likes to believe he still is, and what's going on. But from a global perspective, whilst the fighting is contained inside Ukraine, actually, if you look at the economic impact, the grain impact and all the rest of it, your grain exports affecting sub-Saharan Africa and other poorer countries, the cost of living crisis that's going up, it is having a massive global impact. And we're not quite getting our information operation right in explaining to the globe that this is because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, because Russia are trying to say that this is because of Western sanctions on Russia.